Korea's #1 foreign language station. 101.3 TBS EFM.
This is Koreascape on TBS EFM 101.3 in Seoul and surrounding areas. Remember, you can stream Koreascape anytime, anywhere in the world using your mobile device. We are just a click away in a whole series of mobile apps, including the TBS application, available on the Apple App Store or on Google Play. Or tune into the Koreascape podcast. A whole range of podcast aggregation sites are available for that, including Podbbang and iTunes. And while you're online, check out the new app from Naver called Audio Clip. TBS programs are updated constantly around the clock, so you can tune in at your convenience. This is Koreascape, and every Monday we do Food and Beyond. I will admit I kind of wait all weekend for it. We have got a first-rate culinary expert in the studio. Her name is Yerika Park, and she is the digital editor for the Seoul Michelin Guide. She helps work us through some of the seasonal flavors of Korean cuisine and provide some inspiration for what we might accomplish in our own kitchens. Hey, Yerika.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we're getting right back down to the backbone of virtually all East Asian cuisine.
That's
today.
Right. We're going to talk about rice.
Rice. Mm-hmm. There is no more fundamental ingredient in all of these cuisines, and particularly in Korean cuisine. How do we even start talking about rice?
You know, first of all, how have we not talked about rice yet?
Isn't that funny?
We've done so many episodes.
Well, I think it's because
fall.
Rice is so obvious.
Right, I guess.
You overlook the mountain that you're standing on.
Right.
You know?
I guess. Right? Is that why? Do you eat a lot of rice on a day-to-day basis?
Well,
you've lived in Korea long enough.
Yeah, I mean, I love rice. Mm-hmm. I try to lean a little bit more towards like protein and veg nowadays, but rice is wonderful. And I try to sort of goose my rice up with some healthier rice,
mm-hmm.
like
brown rice,
barley, and all
rice.
that stuff.
Right.
But all things being equal, nothing beats a bowl of white rice with...
If you had to pick between bread, rice, and pasta, what would be your pick?
Whoa, that is tough. But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
That is tough. But I'm gonna probably lean towards bread.
Bread?
To be honest with you.
Yeah. For me, it's a toss between bread and rice also. Yeah. But I'm going to say that rice is a little bit more versatile when it comes to cooking. There are so many different ways to consume rice.
I was just thinking about it this morning. This
right.
is how much I look forward to Food and Beyond, Yerika. I was actually thinking about this. Mm-hmm. And I mean, bread is how most of the world has gotten their carbs. A lot of the world. The non-Asian world, shall we say.
And Asians, too. There's a lot of bread in
Central Asia.
India. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of sort of the fermentation gets worked into
mm-hmm.
the Western diet. And then the fermentation in Korea is elsewhere. The rice is just a pure straight-ahead carb, unless we're talking about brewing traditional alcohols and stuff. Like makgeolli.
Right.
But the fermentation comes elsewhere, and the carbs come in just pure
mm-hmm.
rice.
That's right. Rice. Well, let's start with where it originated from. It originated somewhere in Southeast Asia. 90% of rice cultivation is done in Asia.
Globally?
Yes.
Wow.
Of which 31% is cultivated in China, 21% in India, and the remaining 40% contributed by Thailand, Indonesia, Burma, and Japan.
That leaves only a microscopic...
For Korea?
For Korea. Korea's rice cultivation is seen as so important, mm-hmm. but yet in terms of amount, it's
You're
very
absolutely
little.
Right. And these grains are surrounded by a brown-colored husk, which is milled before consuming. I mean, there's like milled rice, and depending on how many times you actually mill the rice, you get like pure white rice, which is basically just pure starch.
Yes.
And then you have the brown rice with the germ and the bran still intact. And what else? There are largely two different types of rice, indica rice and japonica rice. And japonica rice is basically the rice that we eat every day here in Korea. It's the short grain rice.
And then the other one's long grain?
Yes, indica rice is the long grain rice. So japonica rice grains, short, kind of round. They do not shatter easily. They're harder than the long grain rice. And they have a 20% amylose content and an 80% amylopectin, which is amylopectin is basically a type of glucose in the starch, and it's a water-soluble polysaccharide. And that's the stuff that makes rice sticky. You know
All
what I
right.
mean? So the long grain rice contains less amylopectin than the japonica type rice.
And it doesn't stick together quite as well, in the
No.
bowl the way the
Yeah, think of
Japanese or
basically
Korean rice.
basmati rice and
Sure.
jasmine rice. And you cook these two types of long grain rice, and you get a kind of like a really fluffy texture. And each kernel is separated, whereas the short grain rice we eat in Korea, they kind of like clump together,
Yeah.
right?
You could never make a little sushi roll or whatever out of
Long grain rice.
long grain or basmati.
No,
It would never cling together
they
the
would
way
never cling
it's
together.
not sticky enough.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so the short grain rice grows throughout the world in kind of like temperate mountainous regions like Korea, for example. Lots of mountains in Korea. 70% of the land is mountains. And it's cultivated in Korea, Japan, and northern part of China. Southern part of China actually produces the long grain rice, the indica rice. And what else? When you think of like risotto, for example, it's thinking of like Western style cuisine, risotto and what else? Paella in Spain,
Risotto is arborio rice, right?
arborio rice, and paella rice is bomba rice. It's a Spanish variety.
Bomba.
Yeah, bomba rice. And those two dishes are made with the medium grain rice, which is also more sticky than the long grain rice.
Okay.
Right.
Can I ask you your personal rice philosophy? I mean, white rice these days has been painted as like the enemy.
Right.
Do you eat rice every day like a Korean tends to?
I don't actually. I try to, cut
Switch
down
it
on
up.
carbs, and I switch it up. I eat
lot of people
pasta
are.
and bread, and I just mix it up a bit. But I do love rice. I really do, and I do love a well cooked, bowl of pure white rice.
Oh my God, it's wonderful.
It's just empty, carbs, everyone says, but I just love it. I love the texture of it when it's really well cooked, right? It's like shiny on the surface, especially
stop
rice
it, yeah.
made with like new rice that's been just harvested and that has been just milled.
And with like a cheukbokum kind of deal or something
Yeah,
nice to
anything
go with
saucy
it.
that you
Ooh,
can,
anything saucy.
Yeah,
Just
where
kind
you
of
can
picks it
like
up.
drizzle the thick sauce over the rice and just mix everything together. A little bit of kimchi on the side, of course. It's a perfect meal for me.
How about long grain rice? I mean, what are the strengths of long grain rice?
Long grain rice, they have this like very distinct fragrance. I don't know if you've ever cooked like basmati rice or jasmine
totally.
rice at home. How would you describe the fragrance? They're very, very fragrant, these two types of rice.
I don't know. I want to say almost a bit grassier smelling or weedy smelling. I don't know.
Okay, maybe the latter. Yeah. They do have a distinctly different smell from the short grain rice that we cook every day at home. But I also like long grain rice too. It depends on what you're eating the rice with.
Sure.
For example, with like Thai cuisine or any Southeast Asian cuisine or Indian food, for example, I love my long grain rice. I always keep both varieties of rice in my pantry.
Okay.
Yeah, because it just because it makes sense, right?
My imagination shudders at what your pantry looks like. It's probably like
It's a mess.
No, I was
a
about
mess.
to say it's probably like a library of world food. You know?
I have a bunch of stuff in there. And the best part is like friends who know that I love to cook at home, whenever they travel abroad, they always bring me back little gifts, like gift bags.
No
and
doubt.
it's always got some sort of like ingredient in there.
Sure.
And sometimes like, little bags of rice too. And I try my best to utilize them the best I can.
All right, let's bring it on back to Korea.
Sure.
So in Korea, we use the short grain stuff, right?
Yes, we
Mostly.
use the short grain rice, and there are several different kinds of rice that Koreans consume every day, not just the typical short grain white, completely milled rice that you find everywhere, but I'm going to talk about those different varieties of rice a little bit later on. But let's just talk about the significance of rice in the Korean diet, gastronomy in general. Rice means more than its purpose, which is a staple food in the Korean diet, right?
Of course.
It's a symbol of life. It represents prosperity. And in the past, historically speaking, for hundreds of years, one's wealth was determined by how much rice was stored in their food storage.
I can easily picture
Right.
that.
Exactly. And, Korea has 4 very distinct seasons and a very long, cold winter and lots of mountains covering 70% of the land. So Korea is, in fact, a difficult place to grow rice, which means people had to work diligently and really hard in order to eat, in order to survive every day, right? So Koreans have disciplined themselves with this one basic principle, which is if you don't work diligently in the rice fields during the spring and summertime, the fall harvest will suffer. and you will not have enough to eat during the long, cold winter months.
The ant and the grasshopper. You ever heard that story?
Exactly.
The ant works hard
Right.
all summer long.
Right.
And then the grasshopper who played all summer long said,
Right.
please, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
You have
exactly
to work
it.
if you're going to eat.
Right. And rice, the raw rice, the word for raw rice in Korean is sal, right? But
Sal as uncooked rice.
sal,
Sal. I always have trouble with these doubles.
I was just
one day I'll
teasing
get
you.
it right.
Right. But when it's cooked, it takes on a completely different word, pop.
Pop, which we all kind of recognize maybe more than sal.
Yeah, it's not, but pop is more than just cooked rice, though. In the Korean context, in the cultural context, pop also has the meaning of meal.
Sure.
밥 먹자. Let's eat, right? And a common greeting in Korean is 밥 먹었어, which means have you eaten?
Yeah. Have you eaten rice literally, but
Yeah.
have you eaten and have you eaten rice kind of just go together.
Right.
And this is in multiple languages. It's not just the Koreans that do this. The Chinese say,
Right.
did you eat rice?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And also, you will hear a lot of Koreans say 밥 사줄게, 밥 쏠게, which means let me treat you to a meal, right? Yeah, meaning an entire meal and time spent together between two or more people.
Rice and food are basically interchangeable. The word just
Right.
means food.
And you know how much Koreans love to eat.
Sure.
Really do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, and rice goes even deeper than that. I think quite often Koreans literally mean rice when they're saying 밥 사줄게 or something like that.
Right.
Because, I once took a Korean friend out to lunch. We had a sandwich and a coffee. And she got within a few hours, she's like, oh, my stomach is upset because I didn't eat rice. I think
Or I'm still hungry.
I'm
or
still hungry.
Yeah.
I didn't really eat because we just had that sandwich.
Right.
I think there's something digestive about rice. Once you get into a rice diet, that you need it. You're like,
Do you think it's
addicted
also
to it.
psychological as well?
Might be.
Right? It's a habitual thing, right?
Yeah.
My mom always says if I don't eat rice, it feels like I haven't eaten, although she's just eaten a whole bunch of stuff.
That's right.
And I'm full, but she's like, I just need rice. And
Not really food
soup.
until you've had rice. Yeah.
Right.
No, I think that's totally accurate.
Yeah. So
So
rice is very important here in Korea.
So here you said there were several kinds.
Yeah. Well, the first one is the short grain white rice. It's called baekmi, literally meaning white rice in Korean. It has the worst nutritional value, but like I said, I love the flavor and the texture of a really well-cooked white rice. It's been completely milled, which means the husk, the bran, and the germ have been completely removed during the milling process, and it leaves just the starch. And although it doesn't have much nutritional value, it does contain some B vitamins as well.
It's sort of the cotton candy of rice or the
Yeah.
French fries of rice.
Right. Or just like a white, fluffy toast bread.
Yeah.
Like,
Wonder bread of rice.
Right?
Yeah. And it's in, like I said, it's in its dark ages right now in the sense of public perception. But I think it's going to come back around.
But you know what? I like to consider white rice as like a blank canvas.
Yes.
Right?
Bang.
Right. When I make fried rice, for example, or when I make curry, for example, I would much rather prefer to have white rice than brown rice or a mixed grain rice or black rice, for example, because it's I don't know. It's just they complement each other better. I think.
And I really think digestively, the other food items, the meat, the veg, and all that stuff, the sauce, is hitchhiking on the rice
That's right.
as you digest it. There's something about rice that distributes it evenly and just kind of makes your stomach feel better. Whereas if you forego the white rice, you won't digest well, I don't think.
You think so?
I really do think that.
I don't know. Sometimes when I eat rice with meat, I have a bit of a problem with digestion. Maybe I eat too much.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And then there's the short grain brown rice, the hyunmi. This is the type of rice that I usually eat these days because I try consciously to eat healthier. Unlike white rice, brown rice has the bran and germ still attached. And some brown rice still may have the husk as well, but it has a very high nutritional value, lots of vitamins, lots of fiber. And really speeds up metabolism as well, apparently. If you switch 20% of the grains that you eat from white to brown, apparently that speeds up metabolism like crazy. Yeah.
I buy this stuff now and it's got like maybe a fifth white rice and the rest is all like twigs and berries and whatever else,
Right.
brown grains and everything.
And I don't know, how would you describe the texture of brown rice compared to white? It's a little bit more rough, I guess, on the palate, on the right?
By definition, that is a big old, it's like the bark of rice.
So what my mom does, for example, and what I do sometimes is that she mixes it half-half, white rice and brown rice cooked together. But then when you do this, because brown rice takes longer to cook, you will want to soak the brown rice in advance. So, the white rice and the brown rice cook evenly together.
Fair enough.
In
That
the
makes
same
good
pot.
sense.
Right. And then we have another type of brown rice. It's called half-milled brown rice, 오분도미. And this is basically somewhere between white rice and brown rice. So it has gone through a milling process, but some portion of the bran and the germ still remain intact.
It's
so
sort of
again,
beige
higher,
rice.
exactly, nutritional value than just white rice. Better flavor, of course, and this is a popular type of rice here in Korea as well. Now, let me talk about another type of short grain rice that looks just like, pretty much, a lot of people can't actually discern the difference between glutinous short grain rice and the regular short grain rice. The regular short grain rice is the stuff we eat every day with our meal.
Yes.
The glutinous short grain rice has a higher amylopectin content, which means what? It means
More
it's
sticky.
more sticky. So Koreans use this variety of rice to make rice cake, for example, and desserts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I bought this one time
yeah.
instead of regular sal or whatever. I cooked it and then the entire bowl of rice wanted to come out with my spoon when I stuck it in there. So that's how you know it's glutinous.
You know what? You pound that.
Yeah.
You pound that and it's stuck.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you season it with salt, you
Right.
pound it and that's stuck.
There you go.
Right. Exactly.
I don't have the rice pounding hammer or stone in my house, but
I'm thinking of instances where people utilize glutinous short grain rice that is not a dessert, and I'm thinking samgyetang.
well, or if you were to have a Thai food dinner or something
That's
like that,
right.
you make the little balls of rice that
Yeah.
you can then dip in the sauce.
That's right. But that's the glutinous rice, but the long grain version.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
Rice is so complicated.
It is. There's so many different varieties. So we have the chapsal, the glutinous short grain rice. Again, much more sticky than the regular rice we eat every day. And then we have the wild short grain rice. We're getting a little bit crazy here.
Okay.
야생 chapsal, right? So this is a
야생.
type of 야생 means wild. This is also a type of a black japonica rice, and it's a mixture between black short grain rice and brown rice that's been grown in the same rice field, and it was cultivated in California actually using Japanese seeds.
That's awfully specific.
Right, and it has a very sweet and kind of nutty flavor, and Koreans actually mix it into the white rice as well.
Mix it with white rice as a savory thing or as a dessert?
No, it's a savory thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
just to make your bowl of white rice.
So when you get your sort of honey, sticky, sweet rice rolled up in whatever, that is chapsal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the yaseng chapsal will show up in savory items mixed with white rice.
Yeah.
So it kind of cuts
Well,
down
you
the white rice.
basically buy this type of rice and you mix it and blend it in
I
at
see.
home, actually,
Okay.
when you cook it in the pot.
All right.
And then one of my favorites, actually, because it's just so fragrant, is the black rice. You a fan of black rice?
Which actually cooks up purple, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does. It takes on a purple hue when it's cooked. And then it had a nickname, forbidden rice, back in the days because this type of rice was very special and it was reserved for emperors only.
Ooh.
Yeah. So forbidden rice has a very fragrant, nutty flavor. So it goes with, various different kinds of cuisines. And you can eat it savory and sweet. Lots of iron, lots of fiber. And one last type of rice that I want to mention. It's basically mixed grain rice, self-explanatory, mixed with other grains and, legumes, barley, oat, millet, sorghum, lentil, all the good stuff.
Yeah, that's what I buy
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And I chuck in, if I can, a little hungmi, the black rice as well.
Right,
So it
exactly.
comes out kind of purple.
And again, the tip is to always soak this type of rice, right, before cooking.
Yeah.
I would say 30 minutes to an hour.
I
The
cheat
white-
on that. I should soak it.
Yeah.
I just chuck it in the cooker.
actually
Yeah.
makes the rice taste better as
That
well.
makes good sense.
Yeah. 30 minutes for white rice because anywhere over 1 hour, it loses all the good stuff. So 30 minutes for white rice, and for anything mixed or brown, maybe soak it for an hour before cooking it in the pot.
Let's talk rice cooking 101.
Yes.
A lot of people just chuck it in the rice cooker and add X amount of water.
Yeah.
I think the proportions are what?
It's 1 to 1.
2 to 1. Is it 1 to 1?
What's 1 to 1 for short grain rice?
Okay.
And for long grain rice, it's 1 part rice to 2 parts water.
I usually just wash it if it's white rice.
Yep.
And then if the water covers my hand in the rice cooker, then that's what I do.
Did you learn that from a Korean?
I learned that from a Korean. But yeah,
I've only seen Koreans do that.
I think it's very handy.
And do people still do that? Because everyone has a rice cooker at home.
Well, but even with a rice cooker, you cover your hand in the rice cooker dish.
Oh, because you have the measuring system on the side of the pot.
Why
look at
be
the
so
numbers,
technical?
Like
I think it's, yeah.
You just have to read it. Read the numbers.
I guess. But
has it worked for you every time?
every time.
Good. Then stick to it.
So, I mean, soak your rice and wash your rice. What's the basic theory behind washing your rice?
So actually, I try to rinse as many times as I can. I don't apply too much pressure to it because I don't want to break the rice kernels.
I see.
Now, when you soak the rice, you always want to wash it before you soak it, because if you do it the other way around, soak it and then wash it, then what happens is the rice becomes softer and it might break. And that's not good. So always wash the rice first as many times as you can until the liquid is clear.
Now,
right?
what I think I learned from a Korean when I watched them wash rice is they really scrunch it around with their hand. Are you saying don't do that?
Well, yeah, sure, scrunch around, but not overly.
Okay.
You don't need to. You just have to rinse it as many times as possible until the liquid turns clear.
And the idea, I guess, is to get rid of whatever little bugs or ants or whatever.
All the dirty stuff, and also it removes the excess starch, which might make the rice turn out a little bit all gloopy and overly sticky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It does come out better.
Right, it does. And also, instead of using an electric rice cooker, try using, I always use my Dutch oven when I cook my rice. Those have super heavy lids, so it keeps the moisture in and it holds heat really, really well. And I find that the rice cooks really evenly and always comes out perfect.
If you just have a pot, if you don't have a rice cooker yet, do you have a simple way? I mean, it's dead simple.
Yeah, so basically, like I said, washed, soaked rice, drain it, and then it's 1 part rice to 1 part water, okay? Turn on the heat, medium to high, and then leave the lid of the pot open at this point. And then once the water starts to boil, you close the lid and reduce the heat to a simmer. And then once the rice has absorbed most of the liquid, you turn off it takes about 15 minutes for white rice.
You have to bend down and you hear that crickly, cracky sound. You know?
Yep, and then you turn off the heat, leave the lid on, and then you have to let it slowly
steam itself.
Steam it. Yep.
That works like a charm.
That last part is very, very important. Also, what I do is when I cook rice at home sometimes is I add a pinch of salt.
That's a nice idea.
I feel like that kind of brings out the natural sweetness of the starch. It's like when you cook dessert, you add salt to all the sugary stuff so that it enhances the sweetness. I don't know, a pinch of salt works for
You don't
me.
add anything to the rice cooking water, whether you're doing it in a rice cooker or a pot.
Oh, you know what?
Do you?
I do sometimes. When I have stock, I have a master chicken stock in my freezer at all times. I throw in some chicken stock in there.
That's nice.
It makes the rice more flavorful than just adding
And if you have some
water.
cardamom seeds, like Indian cardamom seeds, chuck a couple of those in. That makes some really fragrant rice when you're doing it in the rice cooker. Okay, now that we've inspired you all to go out and you get your bowl of rice, I'd like to thank you, Yerika Kim, for coming in.
See you next week.
We'll see you again soon. And her name is Yerika Park, not Yerika Kim. I got that wrong. That'll bring today's edition of Koreascape to a close. Our show is produced by Sol Kim. Associate production is done by Jamie Lee. Writing by Christine Saw. And I'm Kurt Asian. Follow us on Facebook or Twitter at the handle Koreascape. If you want to find us on Instagram, we are koreascape.tbs. Tomorrow we're back with Generation Now. And Michelle Kong is going to bring us a Did You Know that helps us reflect on the 6/25 Korean War Memorial Day, talking about the people who sacrificed themselves in that war, including some of the military agents. This, That, and Amy is coming up next, and we will see you again tomorrow morning right here on Koreascape.